That's right. The captain of the Enterprise is a Jew. But while it's like part of his background there, unfortunately, most Jews in America, they're Jews by virtue of not being Christians. Okay? But that's not enough. And so for Paul, if Paul had been telling Jews not to keep the Torah, he would be telling them not to be Jews. Now we stand against that. Messianic Judaism is declaring that God did not send a Jewish Messiah to the Jewish people, prophesied by Jewish prophets in the Jewish language, who then sent out Jewish apostles to tell people to stop being Jewish. And so I keep not only what is written in the Torah, I keep a lot of the traditions of my people as well. Obviously, some have to be modified for the New Testament. Okay, I do not keep kosher as strongly as some Orthodox do because it starts to interfere with the commandments in the New Testament say do not put up artificial barriers to associating with Gentile brothers and sisters in the Lord. All right, some things have to be modified, not as much as people think. So it's a culture, and to answer your question, it ultimately comes down to a cultural difference. The difference is the Jewish culture was actually established by God himself, and therefore it's very precious for its own sake. That's not saying you're lesser for not having that culture or not coming from it. It's saying that it is precious and needs to be guarded, especially among the followers of a Jewish king. And unfortunately, that has been actually outlawed by the church, both Catholic and Protestant, by the way. Martin Luther was not exactly friendly to Jews in his later years. But for most of Christian history, now, again, we're seeing the Spirit effect a reversal there. So I, as a Jew here today, am here associating with my brothers and sisters in the Lord and saying, awesome, we've got Dutch, we've got Americans, we've got, who else is from another country? Anyone? Where are you from?
Guatemala.
We're Guatemalans, yes. Yes.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Oh, sweet. I love Hong Kong. I wish I could go there someday. Hey, in our synagogue, we've got people from South America. We've got people from the Caribbean. We've got people from, for some reason, we attract all the Romanians in Atlanta to our synagogue for some reason. But we've got people from all nations because while we are a Jewish synagogue, we also love that our brothers and sisters are coming in. And many are coming in and loving learning about the Lord from that perspective. Okay, and we have no problem with them being full members at our particular synagogue. But we keep we have as part of our purpose that Jews should be allowed to be Jews, following a Jewish Messiah. So that's your difference there. It's a cultural one, not a I'm better than you or anything else like that. Yes?
I think you've already answered this because my question is the difference between you and the Orthodox.
Many difference. One, of course, is that I believe Messiah has already made one appearance. And of course, will come again. Some are differences in practice out of just logistical necessity. Like I said, Orthodox, traditional Jews will move as communities. You build your community around the synagogue so everyone can walk on the Sabbath, and it tends to keep you very close-knit and together. Messianic Jews, because so many of us actually came from Christian backgrounds, like I was raised in the church. Okay, I was raised in the Christian Missionary Alliance. And so we don't tend to be moving around the communities together. We've got people coming to our synagogue from 20 miles away. Obviously, if we're going to let them come for Sabbath services, we have to lower the restrictions that Orthodox would keep them from driving. We don't go around inspecting anyone's refrigerator. The leadership, myself, Rabbi Gavriel, and several of our teachers, are dedicated to keeping fully kosher. I know where all the rules are and how to bend them into a pretzel when I need to. And there are some that I will just flat out ignore if it becomes necessary. There are some things that are more necessary than kosher, but not on a whim. On my way over here tonight, I had to try to find something that was kosher, which meant that I couldn't combine meat and dairy. Okay. Now, ideally, I should try to find something that was slaughtered by a qualified Jewish slaughterer. Couldn't find that, so what's the next best thing? Well, you're vegetarian or fish. Okay. Now, if I'm going over to somebody's house and they serve me chicken or beef or whatever it is, I'm not going to embarrass them by suddenly raising all the rules, and that can be at the last minute. So it becomes a balancing act. It's a very difficult tightrope to walk sometimes, and we're still, in many ways, figuring out where we stand on that. Orthodox are very uncompromising about those kinds of things because their chief concern is keeping more Jews from assimilating. There are only 16 million Jews in the world today, and of the 8 million living in the States, about 2/3 will assimilate in a generation or two at the rate things are going. It's much easier in Israel, where the whole culture is Jewish, but in America, assimilation is happening very rapidly. My son was circumcised on the 8th day by a Chabad rabbi. Chabad is a Jewish organization dedicated to making it easy for Jews who have not been practicing to come back in. He knew we were Messianic, wasn't happy about this fact, but he's like, all right, look, will you respect my authority while I'm doing the bris? I'm like, absolutely. Is the mother Jewish? Yes, you can meet 3 generations of Jewish mothers to prove it. He's like, okay, I'll do it. Because his concern was first and foremost not letting any more Jews be assimilated. He wasn't happy we're Messianic. He made it up front that he did not believe as we did, and he didn't want to have any discussion on it, but he was willing to treat us as Jews, which is astounding, actually. But my hat's off to their mission to try to get Jews to stay Jews in an environment that makes it so easy. Just America, because it's so loving to the Jews, makes it so easy to assimilate. It's like a catch-22, you know, we're either being persecuted and close together and killed, or we're being loved, and it's like, oh man, this is great, I'm just going to be an American. And so a generation is being lost. Yes?
One more question.
Okay.
And then we'll.
Okay, I think you get this.
How, I don't know, this is a crazy question. How in the world can you become so well versed in the scripture, as well versed as you are, Rabbi Mark? And for example, you found so much in the book of Jonah, which is a very short book. It's only 4 chapters. You explain things to me that I explained things that I read in Jonah and that I read in Isaiah. That I never understood or never made the connection, and you did it so fluently, and you just tied it all together. And
Grace of God and getting married relatively late. I had up until I was 31 without having to juggle wife and kids, and so it gave me lots of time to read. I am married to a wonderful wife who makes sure that I have time in the evening to continue with my studies and get a little bit of writing done here and there. Other than that, it's just a gift from God. I mean, just like my daughter is a gift from God. There were a couple, without going into details, there were some circumstances my wife could have been killed. I would never have had either of them. But my daughter is, a wonderful part of my life. She'll be turning 11 on November 16th. And in that vein, I understand there's another thing to celebrate on November the 16th coming up. 51 years, is it?
oh,
Our anniversary?
my anniversary is actually, it's in May.
May? I'm sorry, someone told me it was November. Well, that just messed up my segue. Here, I thought I was being clever. 51 years.
Judy's
That,
birthday is the 22nd of the way.
ah. Well,
I remember that.
Well, I was asked by someone to do a Jewish blessing over you, and I'm going to, since the scripture is what we have in common. Quick for anyone gets in some trouble, right? Don't worry, this one is straight from scripture. It's actually in number 6. It comes right after, actually, 6 or 15. Let me double check that reference because right now I've been bouncing around so much it's easy for me to miss that and mess it up. Yeah, it's going to be Numbers chapter 6, I believe. Yeah, there it is, right after the Nazarite vow. This is a blessing that goes back 3,500 years. It is called the Aaronic benediction because God commanded Aaron, our first high priest, to place his name on the children of Israel with it. It is, like I said before, where Mr. Spock got the Vulcan salute from. Live long and prosper is not a bad summary, but the actual translation is, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you his peace. And as it is written, Yivarecha Adonai vayishmarecha Yair Adonai panav elecha vechunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha veyasem lecha Shalom. Thank you very much for having me out here.